welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host, John, better known as Dale. We're on Yak Spin, and we have a fantastic show for you. The new PvP features are in. Your Unity Gaming organization schedules its July PvP tournaments. Some balance changes come in, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion. With a new PvP lobby, you can watch him take the life of others in the free-for-all arena. Just don't get caught in his path of destruction. Say hello to Jim.
I accidentally glided into there once.
Just once?
Just once. I'm glad I was attuned to fire on my elementalist. I had my staff. I hit 4 and I just dropped off the ledge. Nope.
Nice.
Honk.
And he streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. If the mist contains the past and future of Tyria, why did it take ArenaNet this long to release the new lobby? Say hello to Age.
They took a year and made it, but then they took another year to remake it and make it better.
But it should have been there. That's the lore. Ugh. Come on, Arena.
It was only 1 year twice.
Yeah.
And you can see his stuff over on Twitch and YouTube at MMO Inks. With the new PvP stuff, there have been many people hopping back into PvP, but is he one of those PvP sleepers? Say hello to Inks.
How's it going, everybody? No, not really.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you. All right, let us jump right into it. So we've talked a couple weeks now about Unity Gaming Organization, how they did their June NA and EU tournaments, and apparently they raised over 1.5 thousand for 20 players. They're already planning for their July tournaments for both EU and NA. Looks like it's going to be July 16th for EU, and for the North Americas, July 30th. And of course, the stream will be on Jebro's Twitch channel, which we'll throw the link in the description on the YouTube, and it's just twitch.tv/JebroUnity. And also, I don't think this was there last time, which is interesting. You can also, on top of the other ways to donate, can apparently donate a $1 using the code UGO EU2 and UGO NA2, respectively, and 100 free codes per region. So get yours while you can. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping, and I'm on the Unity Discord. Jebro also just set up a whole bunch of channels to help people with the automated tournaments. So
fantastic. He's
also facilitating people for basically practicing in the off season for Unity. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm really hoping that I see those filled a lot after the whole automated tournament thing gets off the ground, because I hear that there have been some minor issues at the start, but
but yeah, I think the EU and NA tournaments went pretty well. I still have to watch the rest of the EU ones, but they actually, for July right now, prize pool is over 1,000, and EU is NA is over 700, and EU's a little over 300. So it's already off to a good start before the tournaments actually begin. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Any other thoughts on the UGO PvP tournament? Well, we wish them luck, and everybody that's going to participate, and hopefully we see, kind of like what Jim was saying, it seems like they keep expanding with each month, so we can't wait to hear more about it. Let's look at this, the patch notes from this week. So first up, let's talk about some balance changes, which if you're in PvE, don't worry. It seemed like it was pretty much all PvP related, don't have to panic about your raid builds. But but if you are getting slaughtered more so in PvP and you haven't changed your build, maybe this is the reason. You can just use that as an excuse. That's what I'll do.
You'd have to PvP first.
Yeah, but to be fair, I probably haven't changed it for at least 3 years.
Fair point.
So it is probably pretty dated. But
Might
yeah,
be time to update.
nah, I'm sure it's roughly all the same, right? But yeah, what are some of the things like? I guess we could go profession by profession, but like first up, like what were some of the elementalist changes, and were they good, bad?
I'll take this because I've been playing my elementalist solely for the past 21 games. All of these changes are good. Ice Spike, Water 2, and Staff is now a blast finisher. They added 2 seconds to the cooldown, but I think that's a fair trade for the benefit that a blast finisher has, because you have 2 water fields on Staff 2, and that's a lot of AoE healing you can pump out right there. Geyser, the Water Staff 3, I have Paladin as my amulet, and I swapped to Menders, and it was an extra 1,200 healing over the course of the skill, which is awesome. So that's a lot of bonus healing, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, healing scaling needs to be a thing. Just if you want to actually make people want to build support and healing, you need to make healing scaling work. I have the Gust, which is Air 3 on Staff. It's basically all Staff changes here. I think I was complaining about this on the show last week, that this needed to happen, but people would just strafe, and the projectile for Gust would just miss. I don't know if they made it track. I didn't really have the time to check. This is a global change as well. Gust is a global change to the game. I don't know if the projectile tracks or if it just moves faster, but it definitely is more reliable to get knockbacks with. The next change, Static Field, I think that's a global change too. So what they did is when they got rid of the Blasting Staff trait from the old trait system to the current one, that was the one that gave all staff attacks a larger AoE. They just rolled that in baseline. They gave everybody, every staff ability, the same AoE. They actually said that this made Static Field harder to use, and having the smaller range on Static Field is awesome. Actually, it's what would be called a nerf buff. It's a reduction in value, but it makes it more powerful. The newer radius of Static Field is the same size, roughly, I think, of Fire 2. So basically all of, which is the smallest AoE you have in Staff. So you have a lot more ability to actually hit people inside your Static Field, so that makes it a hell of a lot better. And then the last two, Eruption, which is Earth 2, now cripples. That's a global change. And then Arcane Brilliance is now a 15-second cooldown instead of a 25-second cooldown, which is a really massive cooldown reduction change. I haven't seen anybody using Arcane Brilliance in PvP. It's a super reliable extra blast finisher, but I kind of feel if you really want it to be useful, you'd kind of want to be running Arcane. And my GoToMeeting just froze.
I'll say, yeah, your camera just froze.
Oh, my camera just shut off.
Uh-oh.
Like just shut down on me completely. At least you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. You have an awesome look, like you're looking into the, like with a slight worry, like.
Yeah, just slightly worried. That's normal. Normal when stuff breaks on my computer, I'm slightly worried.
Oh, man.
Well, first thing in IT, you turn it off and back on again.
But yeah, I kind of like the Arcane Brilliance change. I don't know if it'll be good or not, but every other heal besides the Tempest heal is kind of bad in my opinion, because it's either a long recharge or it has a really low heal in and of itself. So having Arcane Brilliance being 15 seconds is actually pretty nice. Am I now Jim? I am now Jim.
Yep.
You're not Jim.
Which is
I might
fitting because
actually
you were
have to-
taking over the Elementalist talk, so it just figured.
All right. So I did see someone today use staff healing Tempest. It did not work well for that person, but I won't judge it off one game.
I've kind of been hearing the opposite. Somebody in Spud was talking today that they're in, I think they said they were in Gold 2 or something, which, you know, Gold 2 is not super duper high, but it's still the beginning of the season. But they've been playing like healing staff Tempest, I guess. But yeah, that's what they've been playing, and they've been doing apparently really well with it. They seem to love it. So I don't know.
That's good.
Some people might be seeing some success with it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not gonna judge off one game because this person just was not doing too hot because people were dying. So I just assume it wasn't working too well. But or maybe that person just had some wrong in his trades or something. I don't know, but I hopefully it does. Okay, so there you go. So.
I will be right back. I'm actually going to close GoToMeeting and come back in.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully people find some success with it because you need more different builds than just dagger focus.
Yeah. What's next on the list?
Guardian, it looks like, is getting some staff and mace buffs. Have either of you got to try that, or?
Those are mostly for support. They're really trying to emphasize Guardian as a support, as a secondary build that you can run. We know that Guardians haven't been too. I gotta turn off my camera, but Guardians haven't been too hot as of late when it comes to being picked up for PvP. I know that there are some people who still play it, but support does bring an option to another option that's still pretty good. I know someone who actually did play Bunker Guardian when they were playing, and they really loved that type of style. So it might be helpful in that situation. So
I kind of feel like the Staff 2 needs to not have as high a cooldown on the detonate if you choose to do that. I think that's one of the bigger problems with that ability.
No. I would say like a flip over, actually.
Well, that's what it is.
Like just straight up a flip over.
Yeah, you hit 2 and the orb travels forward, and then and it's kind of like Flamethrower 2 with an engineer. At any point in time as it's traveling, you can hit 2 again and it detonates. But if you choose to detonate, it has a big, like a much longer cooldown.
Okay, I see.
Let me pull that up because now I can't remember what the numbers are.
Yeah. And I hope it goes well. Mace got healing on, I think it's 2 skill. I can't remember. It's called Faithful Strike. I just don't remember what skill it was again, but yeah. Overall, just more healing options. So
more healing.
See what people do with it.
Faithful Strike the wind up mace skill?
Oh.
Like where it leans back, like, was it 2, I think?
Yeah,
that's the symbol.
Oh, it's the auto attack. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the Orb of Light, if you detonate it, it is a 4x cooldown on Orb of Light. So for it to do any support at all, you have to take a 4x cooldown on it.
Cool. Any other thoughts on the Guardian? Sounds like all positive changes for at least support-wise. And while Jim tries to bring his mic back from the dead, let's talk about the Necromancer.
Yeah. I think you're using Cam mic, by the way. Yeah. Necromancer, I personally like the life siphon and like all the increased healing that you get and protection, because I kind of like running that team fight oriented necro that does damage, so it's really fun for me.
Aren't Life Siphon and Dark Pact, those are dagger skills, right?
Life Siphon is Dark Pact.
Life Siphon is.
Sure.
But
I don't remember all these, but yeah.
It gets kind of hard sometimes to remember all the skills, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't see anybody using dagger in PvP.
I used to for my bunker build, but I don't know.
Well, dagger main hand is a DPS weapon.
Yeah, I use dagger main hand and offhand so I could get the movement speed bonus. Or I think I just use one dagger to get the movement speed bonus. But yeah.
Got to use it for that utility.
Yeah.
None of the skills, just the move speed buff.
Well, dagger auto attack is basically all you did with it, more or less.
Get heals too. So.
Yeah. But the auto attack was where the damage was at.
Yeah.
Surprising, I know. Guild Wars too.
Well, let's take a look at the Ranger. So the Ranger looks like they're getting some axe buffs. Last time it was the Warrior's turn. Now it looks like they're moving on to the Ranger. So not a lot of change, but I mean, drastic increase in damage apparently. But just two of their skills. Split Blades damage is plus 200%, and Winter's Bites damage is plus 150%. So, wow.
It's just more damage options.
Yeah, they were. I think they said in the blurb for it that they wanted to increase the hybrid nature, and since 2 and 3 were mostly there for the Condi, for the bleeds on it, that's a lot more. Like Viper builds that run Axe main hand are going to get a crap ton of damage out of this.
Well, it's PvP only, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that one is, but still, like
Winter's
anyone.
Bite isn't.
Winter's Bite is global.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it increases Ranger DPS a little bit, Ranger DPS a little bit in PvE, but not enough to really push it into a different category.
Yeah.
Nice change though. In PvP, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't use Axe, so
if you take the Axe trait, Winter's Bite becomes an AoE. So it's an AoE chill and bleed. So you split blade into Winter's Bite, and that's just a ton of AoE bleeding. And I think I would run crate runes with that for the bonuses to bleed. I know it seems to be kind of a eggs in one basket kind of thing to amp up a single Condi like that, but it works really well because Rangers can just reliably pump out bleeding.
It's probably really good for their damage. Obviously, the CC is nice. So
that, and I think both of them are 100% or 50% projectile finishers.
Right.
So.
Well, that's good. Let us hop over to the Revenant. Looks like they're getting some Chalice buffs. Apparently, Inspiring Reinforcement gets stability on casts, reduced energy cost, and 50% damage increase. And Vengeful Hammer's base healing increase by 43%. Is that gonna make you get back in? Come on, Inks. Get back into PvP.
The stability on cast is
Revenant's very strong right now. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not as broken as it used to be, but it's way better than it was last season, right, H?
Yeah. I'm playing Conning Rev. It's actually pretty solid. I might have to play Power Revenant, but so that people won't yell at me. But I think it's actually pretty good. I've seen Jealous used a few times. I haven't seen it since the change, but it could be very interesting indeed. Especially.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Glint and Shiro are basically your mainstays, generally speaking. Shiro was really built for PvP. So going away from what do you drop? Do you drop Glint, I guess, and go for Chalice?
Glint is really good though.
So do you what? Do you go Glint and Chalice then? I don't know, because Shiro is so useful for disengaging and
it really is
damage, cleave damage, and I don't know. It's just
so for
compromise.
It's because I wouldn't because
if you're gonna play a more supporty role, then I can understand why Chalice becomes more important there, especially the hammers, because you're gonna be staying on a point or you're gonna be protecting a point. And it seems like a lot of these balance changes, and I'm not a PvP expert, so I could be totally wrong in this, but it feels like a lot of the changes so far that we've sort of talked about are support oriented. You know, Elementalist, Guardian, now Revenant with Chalice is a tanky, supporty sort of role, right? So maybe there's a thing there, but the Revenants I run into and that I played very briefly is almost always power. It's always Glint, Shiro, and strong burst DPS and that kind of thing.
But sadly, not everybody got buffs that day. One little profession got a little bit of a nerf.
That's okay.
Age, tell us about the thief. How did they fare?
So Shortbow did get kind of like how Ellie got like that bonus nerfed, like
Nerf buff
type of deal. So the nerf was that the day's interval was from 1 second to 4 seconds, but the buff was that the day's duration went from 0.5 to 1 second, and poison lasts an extra second. So the reason why it's an overall nerf is because if you put choking gas down in a fight, and people are, let's say two people are trying to res a down body, you would just shoot choking gas into it, and you could steal on one person, and they would get dazed. And because they had so much poison on them already, they would get stunned at least twice or 3 times in an interval. Now it's just once, which makes it okay for like that one save, but you just can't depend on dazing a lot in team fights anymore.
So, right, but it was super strong. It was dazed 3 times in an interval.
So what you're saying is you can basically, if you're not overlapping, you will daze a target once per choking gas, effectively. Is that what this is?
Well, the threshold to daze is 5 stacks of poison, so you would have to get to 5 stacks, and you have to apply those 5 stacks consistently. So that's why, like, putting down 2 choking gas and stealing on top of someone usually does it, and then you just pop out and use more choking gas. But now it's just 1 daze, so you would put down choking gas once or twice, steal, and maybe auto attack for poison on the 3rd attack, and a whole bunch of different things you could do. But essentially, you're just going to get 1 daze out of it. So it kind of makes things easier because cluster bomb's also really good and really a high damaging skill. So it's a warranted nerf, I would say. So it was really strong because it procs pulmonary impact. So
yeah,
which still hasn't gotten an ICD on it.
No.
I was thinking at this point it would have been, but if they put an ICD on it, it'll drastically reduce thief damage. But we'll see what happens.
I'm okay with that. As an elementalist, I'm okay with reduced thief damage.
And then I'd be forced to run staff. You don't want that.
Thieves are interesting. As a support druid, thieves are interesting to fight because, I mean, they don't one-shot me, but I also do no damage. So it's always a race to see who's going to kill who first. Either they're going to be really efficient with their skills and kill me over a couple of seconds, or I'm going to be able to outlast them, and then their health they can't sustain they can't sustain against the damage.
That's pretty much.
So they have to be really good at getting out of there, which I feel like that's kind of the downfall of thief players, generally speaking, unless they're very good at their profession. They don't know when to disengage all the time, which is sort of surprising because in World vs. World, they know exactly when to disengage and run away half the map so you can't catch them. So, I don't know. That's kind of been my experience. I've been seeing a lot of thieves recently, at least in the lower tier brackets. Maybe it's just popular this season.
Yeah.
Which is a good or bad thing because sometimes they can be really good and sometimes they can be just mediocre or not good at all.
It's like a 2 in 10 chance, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, there was no engineer, which I guess you could say good or bad on that one. But last up we have the warrior, which was the rifle. They got some rifle and torch buffs. Looks like blaze breaker burns from 1 to 2, cripple duration from 2 to 3 seconds. Also, Flames of War burn duration per pulse is up from 1 to 2 seconds. Burn stacks from final explosion increased from 2 to 4. And the aimed shot damage plus 68%. Vulnerability stacks from 5 to 10. So
they've been really
is
pushing
anybody picking up the
Vuln.
rifle?
No. That damage bus won't do anything. I'm sorry.
Aim shot doesn't have a really high damage scaling in the first place. It's really just there for the Vuln application because you get bonus adrenaline from the auto attack on rifle if the target has Vuln on it, which they've really been pushing Vuln in PvP lately. It's odd. I think that's one of the only increased duration or increased Condi duration sigils that's left in PvP is increased Vuln duration.
Yeah. The rifle buff won't do anything in my opinion. The problem with rifle is it doesn't have enough utility in it of itself to provide sustain for a warrior, whether or enough. There's not enough in the rifle itself. Unless you're free shooting. So
it's got single target CC. It has one super high damage shot, and that's the burst skill, either primal or standard burst. And other than that, I mean, you have to basically have people lined up to do damage on it. Yeah. So, I mean, I like the fact that they're trying to make rifle useful. I like rifle on warrior. I enjoy the way it plays, but it just doesn't stack up to bow. The burst skills on bow alone, I think, outdo basically everything on rifle.
It's a lot more CCs as well.
Yeah. The torch buffs, on the other hand, are actually pretty decent. So, might see more torch play.
I've been seeing a lot of sword torch from berserkers lately.
Yeah.
And Mithrin, I kind of agree with that. I wouldn't mind. Honestly, I think engineer could make use of a system like that. Like, I really think engineer could make use of a mechanic like that to something, to have some kind of ammo system. But I don't know how.
Ammo system. So like a pre-design, like not an actual item you carry though, right? Just like a
reload system.
It'd be like an additional. It'd be like a resource bar kind of thing.
I was gonna say it's almost like mantras with a lot of charges.
Yeah, effectively, is you'd have your set of ammo.
When you run out,
it recharges. Like that's when the cooldown hits. Is you have your abilities. Kind of like what?
Graves from
Graves or Jin. I was actually going to bring up Jin in that.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is like, let's say there's a bar above your F1 skills, where you have like ticks. All right, and
pips. Yes.
Let's call them pips. For the sake of the example, let's call them pips.
Got to get the most use out of the pip system.
Let's say you get 6 pips.
Do you think right now someone at ReNet's like, I think this is horrible. I'm listening. Pips, okay, we can work with pips.
Okay.
And let's say every time you shoot, you lose a pip, but over time, let's say every 3 seconds, you get a pip back. So that's how the system would work. And so if you run
initiative,
when you run out of pips, you could do like a reload feature that gives you all 6 pips.
You have to go to an outnumbered borderland and sit there for 5 minutes. Get your pips back.
Reload your pips from the outnumbered borderlands. Yes. The only problem, as much as I would love that in like a class now, that kind of feels like a change that would work really well for an elite spec.
Right. It feels like a class mechanic and not necessarily a weapon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those kind of mechanics work really well in a game like, let's say, like an Overwatch or something like that, right? Like a first-person shooter kind of game. In an MMO, like, I feel like you need to design the class around, like, I don't think that's a plug-and-play system. I think that's
that's something you design around. That's one of the things that I like when Age brought up League of Legends is there's a marksman character named Jin, and he has a 4-shot system, and he doesn't get attack speed. He can't fire any faster than he does, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, cooldown, he reloads, and then you can just do that again. Now, given you mentioned initiative, I mean, if they go ahead and, like I've said before, is they make the next Thief Elite spec a sniper of some sort, I think that would be almost perfect for an opportunity for a system like this. Because a thief loses the ability to natively regenerate initiative. They have to spend it all. There's a cooldown, and then they gain it all back, and then
sniper shot takes X amount of initiative to use.
It'd be interesting. I don't think people would use it in PvP just because it's it's too slow. But in things like PvE, like Raid, it might be interesting. For Fractal World, it might be interesting. World versus World, it might be interesting. But
I can remember when Warrior Rifle, when the F1 was strong enough to, you'd hit for 30, 40K, and people would be using it a lot in like World vs. World. Not so much in Zergs, but like in tower defense or whatever.
I could only imagine if you used it in a Zerg, though, now that piercing is baseline. Or when the Primal Burst for Rifle exploded on every target. In Zerg combat, you have a brigade of warriors, and it's just rifles. Giant explosions everywhere. Macross Missile Massacre. But I kind of feel like that would be, like, if you had that kind of sniper thief thing that's like you can front load all of this burst, it almost feel like you have to try and use some supporty skills and stuff, and then you wait for the break bar to be depleted, and then you just unload everything, and you just see whatever you're fighting, the health just chunks right down because of a vulnerable period.
Yeah. And really, some of that sounds a bit dangerous, but there's so many blocks and reflects and walls and stuff versus projectiles that I don't think it's as dangerous as people might first think it is.
One of those things is you could have a shot that is unblockable, but that would be one of those thief skills that actually has a cooldown.
That'd be so dangerous.
Well, it'd be one of those things.
Fear. Like, that's my fear, right? Thieves are getting rifle maybe, and they go invisible, and then they get a sniper shot off that basically one-shots you. Ugh.
Well, it would be one of those things where if there was something that was unblockable from a thief, you can still dodge unblockable. So, like, see the thief with a rifle disappear, and you're just like, well, shit, he's going to charge up. I either get behind a wall or I dodge or do something.
Right, yeah.
So it's one of those things where the cost would be prohibitive to spamming it. So you'd want to use it on, like I mentioned, Jin before. His ultimate ability is called Curtain Call. He gets this giant cone AoE, and the camera actually pulls back up from the RTS perspective in League, and you have 4 shots. And these shots do bonus damage based on the target's missing health. It's an execute mechanic. So that would be a way to, using percent missing health damage is a way for to kind of disincentivize people from spamming an ability that is super powerful, but it's really predicated on having a target at low health. Which I think we have a few of those abilities that are at least like if the target is below 25% or 50%. I don't know if we have really scaling down like that, but I know we have health thresholds in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah. Could be really interesting for like a future mechanic, maybe even in the next expansion if Thief gets rifled, which is a big. It was even rumored last Heart of Thorns that people wanted rifle on Thief, and it would definitely be like Thief would be a sniper, where Warrior is more of like an assault rifle kind of thing, and
the commando.
yeah, and Engineer is like a shotgun, anyway. But yeah, could be cool.
Cool. Well, that sounds like that was all the balance changes for PvP, and a little bit of trickle out to the rest of the game, but mostly PvP. Let us look at
which by the way, before we move on, I've seen a lot of people complaining. I mean, this always happens, right? Anytime there's a balance patch that focuses just on PvP, because it doesn't really happen with the other game modes so much. There's always complaints about that it's only for PvP, or that that it doesn't balance for the other game modes. And I'm okay with those balances if ArenaNet balanced more often. Now, in this case, it makes a lot of sense. It's the June competitive feature pack. This was the PvP release with automated tournaments and the lobby revamp and all that other kind of stuff. So it makes sense that it's 99% PvP based. It would have been really nice if there was a small balance for World vs. World only when the World vs. World release came. And then it would be especially nice when a new raid win comes out if it's PvE focused. You know what I mean? Like if they had more balancing times, I think that less players would be salty about these like PvP only balances that we see. Because in this case, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a good thing, right? You're balancing with a PvP release. You're trying to get people into PvP, so that makes sense. But the other game modes don't seem to get quite as much balancing. And so that, like, for those people who don't really play PvP, it sort of irks them off when they just see PvP balances. Which, by the way, splitting it like they have been is way better than what they used to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just quickly, to be fair, the only thing the PvP players have been getting have been League and balance patches that kind of cross with everyone else. So I think they kind of deserve like this one type of balance patch for the month.
Sure, I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I think you should balance. I think you should balance the game fairly often. I think one of the downsides is the game doesn't get balanced enough. And that's what I'm kind of saying is like when we had the World vs. World update, like World vs. World needs some serious balancing. There are some really big outliers in World vs. World that could use some love. And, you know, we don't see a whole lot of that. And then when we do see it, it tends to be like game wide and not just World vs. World, which then like the World vs. World is such a different animal that they have separated in the past. I don't want to sound like they've never done that because they do that from time to time. I'm just saying more frequently. Okay. And especially for PvE raids, like PvE balance for fractals, raids, end game content, which is where balancing is generally concerning. Like we get a new raid and it's rare that balancing necessarily comes along with that. It's released at a separate time where it's a big free for all kind of thing. And I don't know. I think that targeted balancing, like they did with this PvP release, is just more beneficial. I think it's just better.
Yeah, and I know early on, like they kind of were really trying to avoid doing that separation, and then they kind of had like a couple here and there, and yeah, I hope they're moving more towards that because I mean, granted, and I understand, that's how Guild Wars 1 was, and I think they even said that was a nightmare because not only did you have so many combinations, then it was like you had PvE and PvP to like balance all those combinations. And so I mean hopefully that, you know, I know it's an unfortunate thing. It's like you have 3 game modes, they're basically 3 separate, you know, games, and that's kind of how you have to look at it for balancing. So yeah, hopefully going forward we see more and more of it to that point, and kind of like what Mithrin was saying, now that they have that support for warning the players, you know, hopefully we'll just, you know, maybe while they're testing it, be like, could this work for all across the board? If so, then yes, let's implement it. Or is it only useful in PvP or War of the World or PvE or, you know, any combination of them? But yeah, hopefully going forward we see more splits, even though that might be confusing to newer players. But I don't think it'd be that horrendous.
Read your tooltips.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the balance changes? All right.
That's all I really had to say about it.
Also, we got some new PvP dailies. Apparently, they now added win a match with a specific profession they removed win a match with a specific profession. Then they win a match daily was added, and participate in a tournament daily was also added. So, are you guys sad that the profession specific ones were removed?
Thank God.
No.
Yes.
I'm not sad at all that it's been removed.
Oh, well, yes, I agree.
Huh.
Age was so excited that he couldn't get his answer straight, and I think my camera just crashed again.
Yes, it
Yep.
did.
But this
Wow.
one's a lot more
But
lighthearted.
you look a lot happier this time.
Yeah.
Well, there's at least that.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, it's super beneficial because I literally have one class. So now I get the daily no matter what I'm doing. So that's a
Right.
positive. The complaint that I seen, and I have to preface this by saying it's a rather silly complaint, but the complaint that I seen was that you can't do this daily win in private custom matches anymore.
Ooh.
So
Good.
Right. It used to be a big thing, and I was a huge abuser of this, where I would go and do a daily match in a custom room, basically win trading, right?
Mhm.
Everybody takes a turn. This team, red team always wins. They balance, whatever. Everybody gets credit. Everybody's happy. You get your daily done, but you're not really playing PvP. And to be honest, I'm surprised ArenaNet let this go on. It's kind of like unlimited key farming to some extent, in my mind anyway. Like ArenaNet let this go on for a super long time, and I know they're not the same thing, but they let this go on for a super long time before finally putting an end to it. And I know that I've seen a lot of people be like, "F you, ArenaNet! How dare you take my daily away, you sons of bitches!" Like it's so over exaggerated and silly. They want you to play PvP.
Yeah, they want you to actually play the game.
The purpose of doing those dailies is that you're playing PvP for the dailies, not that you're going into a daily room and trading wins and just getting free daily. And like I said, I abused it nonstop. I did it every day almost, you know. So I don't know. I just can't get behind the argument of how dare you take this away from us. I will say that I think it decentivizes custom arenas a little bit. I think like there's less of a reason to have one now, but I don't know how bad a thing that really is. Those who really want it for the 2v2 thing that was added, right? So for those who really want it, they'll still exist and those things will still be there. It's just you're not getting anything for playing in there other than the joy of playing PvP, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's just that's the way it is. So
one thing before I restart GoToMeeting, what Jabu just said in chat is the profession stacking you'd end up seeing, which I think is why they made the win as a profession like a 2 profession per achievement thing. So it was a total of 4 per day.
Right.
But you'd still see, like, if Guardian was one of them, you'd almost always see, like, if it was Guardian/Thief, you'd almost always see more Guardians than Thieves.
Yeah,
just because
get their dailies done.
Exactly, because Guardian just seems to be an easier class to play than Thief. So I'm happy to see the stacking kind of handled. But I'll be right back yet again.
Yeah, overall, I think it was a good move for that.
For PvP, I think it's a great move. For people who wanted to get free dailies, not so much.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the bigger problems was that people were they're trying to do their dailies and do ranked at the same time when they weren't good at that profession. Which
that's still going to happen, though. It's just they'll play whatever profession they want to do, right?
Oh.
I guess. Well, maybe it's not so bad. I don't know.
Yeah. So for example, I don't want to. Wait, I gotta change my camera, guys. I can't think and change cameras at the same time.
Oh wait, were we not supposed to do that?
No, that's fine. So for example, let's say someone is good at let's say someone's good at Elementalist, okay? And you know, I'm not using Malthanis as an example. I'm just saying.
Oh no, use me as an example.
Oh, okay. So let's say Malthanis doesn't do this. I'm prefixing this now. Malthanis is good at Elementalist, okay? But let's say he's not good at Revenant. But there's a Revenant daily. Let's say he goes into ranked PvP as a Revenant, he's not going to do as well versus if he goes in as an Elementalist. This is what I'm talking about. People were doing this just to get their daily done and get ranked stuff done at the same time. It was very bad. But at least with this win a match, you could just go in as whatever you want, and you could play your best profession rather than a mediocre or bad one.
The thing that kills me about the whole, people going into ranked as a profession they're bad at, just go in as a profession you're good at, get the 2 dailies done that you're going to get regardless, and then just do the Vista Viewer or Resource Gatherer in PvE. It's so easy to do that one. I mean, if you've got home instance nodes, you can basically get that done in 5 minutes if you just go to the right region of Tyria. It's not that big a deal. Like,
What if I'm
I've
just
done
bad
that
at
on
all the
stream.
professions?
The only thing I don't like about the dailies is I don't like the daily tournament one. I really wish that wasn't a daily because, number one, tournaments are only open at certain times of the day. So depending on when you play, when I play, they're normally never open. I've only seen an AT open one time. And to play an AT is not... Do you get credit after the first match? You probably do, right?
I mean, it's just play in one, so...
As long as you participate, you get something, pretty much.
So, like, I don't know. I don't like the daily tournament one. They're only open at certain times of the day. There's a high possibility that the time you play at it won't be open. And so it's like a dead daily to me most of the time.
Oh, if you coincide, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, maybe they leave it there and add an extra one or something, add an extra PvP. I don't know. But, like, I feel like it's a dead daily 99% of the days for me. It's a dead daily. I won't be on or active when an AT is running. And it has nothing to do with me wanting or not wanting to join an AT, by the way. I want to join an AT, but every time I go in, they're broken or they're not up or whatever the case is. Or
they fill up really quick.
We're going to talk about it probably shortly, but the rewards are terrible. And, so, like, they're not super incentivized right now, except for the monthly, which is, like, the big goal, I guess. And even that for pro players is hugely, apparently, a huge disappointment. But, yeah, I just don't like that as a daily, I guess. Feels like a dead daily to me.
Yeah. Also, a nice little feature they added was an end of PvP match screen for ranked, which basically victors get to stand on a pedestal with celebration skills. So you can do like dance. You can, I think, also do emotes. So
got fireworks too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you do emotes? I didn't even try. I tried dancing and throwing fireworks. I don't know how you guys feel about this. It's interesting, right? Don't get me wrong. It's funny. I think after you do it the first 2 or 3 times, maybe you never look at it again. And certainly your enemies are gone and never, you know what I mean? Like, you're the only one looking at it.
Yeah, because it's like a screen that you can skip. You don't need to be there.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You can skip it and just leave.
Honestly, the thing that I kind of wish that they would add instead is the ability to click on a match in your match history and see your actual stats for it.
Hmm.
I mean, I like the little end game thing because, like, the little emblems on the bottom of the pedestal that you're standing on are the emblems for top stats, and they'll be lit up if you got those top stats. And then, you know, all the people on the enemy team are lying dead underneath the pedestal, which I think is, funny. But I also kind of like, yeah, Jabu was saying, no more duels after the match has ended, which I guess is neither here nor there with me, because I know I've gotten into some fights after the fact just because I wanted to finish the fight to see how well I played it. But,
It's just one of these things where it's a fun thing, right? I get it. It's an interesting thing that they added, but I went in, I started getting footage and looking at this stuff like the day after the patch launched, so Wednesday, and people were already, my team and the enemy team instantly all leave. I'm the only one on the pedestal by myself dancing and shooting fireworks because nobody stuck around to look at anything. You know what I mean? They're on to the next match. So
character's all by itself, like, woo, go team.
yeah, like, yay, I'm the best.
That's when you screenshot. I'm like, yeah, I 1v5'd. What?
But I don't know. I think, like, after you see it the first or 1 or 2 times, like, you never look at it again, really.
Yeah. Someone I know in my chat kind of brought up the fact that Arianet added BM for the end screen. So, like, yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It seems like it's a nice little bit of flavor that, like, I mean, it for me it seemed a little bit like Overwatch, and I know there's probably other games that have done it where you kind of have
Exactly
that.
what it made me think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a
Not
nice, it's
even
a
the
nice
play
bit
of
of
the game,
flavor.
which is like, it's not even the play of the game, which is the big thing in Overwatch, but it's like the team pose at the end of the, you know what I mean? The winning team poses for, like, oh, we're the best, whatever they do.
You do realize that that's the next step for the Gemstore, right?
Yeah. People have already been saying it on Reddit and stuff where, you know, now that, you know, add special poses and whatever, or special actions or whatever into the Gemstore. Some people might buy them, but I feel like they're kind of like finishers, and I don't think finishers ended up selling super well for ArenaNet, but at the same time, they could also maybe add them as rewards, and some people might like getting them as rewards, so maybe there's potential there.
I was
I
like,
don't
please
think
do
it's
that
ridiculous.
instead of Gemstore, just because after a certain point we're going to have a separate show just for the Gemstore. It's just starting to feel like.
Honestly,
But,
if they start doing reward boxes like every other PvP game has been doing lately, they could put the finishers in there, or like select finishers in there. The only finisher I ever actively purchased was the original guild finisher, but that was just because it was like the end of mission animation for Guild Wars 1 with the shield and then the swords coming in. That was a piece of nostalgia that I will gladly don my rose-tinted glasses for.
I think I
yeah,
bought the
I like that one.
8-bit A-bomb or whatever it was. I think that's the only one I've ever bought.
Age's favorite.
Games.
Sab finisher.
Yeah. Yeah, the SAB finisher.
Yeah, I like the original guild one just because I always considered it aggressive guild recruitment. Because it always put down your logo. So,
Right, yeah.
but
Join us. I killed you. Now you must be
Yeah.
part of our guild.
exactly. If you want your body back, it's it'll be hanging in our guild hall.
But yeah, they definitely could extend this. Now, if they do, like Mithrin saying, sell new emotes, you got to make those emotes game wide, though. You can't just, can you imagine the outrage if they were only for the PvP pedestal? I mean, obviously, I think they would be game wide, and people have been asking for new emotes for a long time. Like, I think there's missing emotes from Guild Wars 1 even that people still want.
I want the instruments. I really do.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you have an
Guild Wars
instrument,
1 you could do.
The air guitar, air drums.
Oh, right, yeah.
I love those.
I use violin a lot. Like, oh, I feel bad for you. Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool to see. But also that we have a new PvP map, Hall of the Mist. It is a 2v2 arena, which I like the sound of this. In overtime, stealth and healing are disabled, and a deadly fog starts creeping into the map. Sounds amazing.
I can't say much. I haven't been in the map, unfortunately. It's like a custom map, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching Age get stuck in it.
That was stupid. Because I went to my custom arena and tried to like look around on the map, but it wouldn't let me out of the spawn room for some reason. So that's some sort of bug. So I spectated a match. I actually spectated a few matches, and it's basically a long corridor, and each slide to the right has a staircase that can go up to a small ledge, and that's pretty much it. So it has some line of sight, but basically you just fight till someone dies. So it's very interesting in that respect. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Also, we talked about last week, we're getting a new PvP lobby, and we have a little bit of a tour going around when we talk about it that you can kind of watch. But, I mean, we kind of talked about it a lot last week. I mean, we know thematically it's kind of like has a bunch of ruins. It has the VIP access lounge, which is Champion's Rest, that kind of oversees the free-for-all arena. A couple of the things that we didn't like, everybody assumed there would be a jumping puzzle, but also apparently there's a llama farm and kind of a llama achievement that goes with it. So what are your thoughts of the look, and have you guys explored this map or the new lobby?
One of the things that I said on the stream for Zero to Hero this past Wednesday is I kind of like how they've more coalesced the art style of the mists as these floating island setups. That I think is a really good way to get the art design. That started basically with Edge of the Mists, I think, and then they were more with the fractals. I think Edge of the Mist really helped them explore more into that, and then the fractal update, and now this. I do like how there are updrafts in it for exploring around, and the jumping puzzle is it's not Chalice of Tears, but it's a decent challenge.
There's some mailboxes in that jumping puzzle. There's some open and closing mailboxes. Mailbox open, mailbox closed. Mailbox open, mailbox closed. Nobody gets the reference. It's okay. There's some cringe moments. There's some cringe moments. Some butt tightening in that jumping puzzle.
There are some of those jumps are a little close.
Yeah, I haven't done
Also,
the jumping puzzle.
At the top of the waterfall that you see in the playthrough going on right now, there's a cat sitting on a bench that is a recruitable cat to your home instance.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, of course, they had to add it. And then we joked last week that, Deo brought up the llama achievement. We joked last week that there would be a llama scavenger hunt, and there is a llama scavenger hunt. So there's that.
Yeah, this is definitely isn't
the
like all of them. I kind of just ran around along the different major
not
islands.
new, by the way. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, a new cat." It's not a new cat. It's the Revenant cat. You need to give it carrots. I forget how many. You need to give it carrots on a Revenant to get the cat in your home instance. Yeah, once carrots because he was blind. It's actually kind of clever. Kind of funny, right? At first, it's like the first time I did the cat, which was a long time ago. It's been in the game for a while. It was introduced right around Halloween, actually, but you couldn't get it because they changed the Halloween PvP map, and the cat wasn't there, so you had to wait for Halloween to be over. But anyway, yeah, you need to give it carrots because it's blind for its eyesight. Yeah, I don't know. I did the llama thing, loved it. I thought it was a fun little thing to do. I have to say that, so the jumping puzzle, when you go in, the entrance to the jumping puzzle is you go through one of the waterfalls. Like the entrance to the jumping puzzle is going through the waterfall. And I don't know, that made me stop and smile just for a second because it was very Quarteria reminiscent, I felt like. That's the kind of stuff that I didn't get a whole lot of those moments in Heart of Thorns for me. And they do exist in some places in Heart of Thorns, but not quite as much. And I don't know. I just walking through that waterfall, finding like the hidden passage behind it. Just really cool. Just a really cool moment. Made me stop and smile just for a second. So it was really cool.
Yeah. I'm going to point this out because I'm seeing on the stream that they're gliding to the free-for-all arena. And I think they should put a wall where you could glide into like the actual fight, because some people are like legitimately when they're about to die, they'll just glide away, reset, and come back, which is really stupid.
Which is exactly what I do.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you for.
There's also a spot in the free-for-all arena where you can sort of exit out the side, so you can get in and do damage. And if you back up to one ledge, it actually exits you from combat so that you can refill and get back in. So there's a couple of little, maybe I don't know. There's a couple little spots in there.
Yeah. So just fix those because that was really irritating.
The thing I really want to see is somebody, and we won't see this for a while, I guess, but I want to see somebody get up into the secret area or the VIP club and, see what that's like up in
the
there.
camera, as you were saying, that was kind of like looking up in that. If you have your UI on, it shows like the controls from that distance. But yeah, you can't. Apparently, you can only get that if during tournaments and league play. So
yeah, and I probably, it's unlikely I'll see it anytime soon. So I hope somebody releases a video so that I can see what's in there, and just out of curiosity, really, not because I want to be in that area necessarily, but out of curiosity. I think they did a really good job with the map. So,
look at this Revenant not respecting the 1v1.
Nope.
Yeah, what jerk did that?
Oh well.
I was just waiting for you to use your number 2 knockback to send that guy off the edge.
Honestly,
It's a free for all. There's
what I
no
had.
respecting the 1v1. It's free for all.
It's true. That's true.
And
I'm
honestly,
just
I can
saying.
tell you, behind the
I
scenes,
go out of my
I
way
ran
to
in there
pick
with
up.
vengeful hammers. I wasn't expecting to live. I was just like, ah. I just wanted a cool ending, but and they provided it. So thank you to that person. But
So yeah, I don't know. I think they did a really good job with the overhaul. I like the llama that was added. I like the little gliding aspects. If you have those masteries, you can get a little bit more out of the map, which is nice.
and when
The
you
one
go in,
thing
it does
I-
give
Art
you all the
style is
waypoints, so
beautiful.
you don't have to glide. Like if you don't have Hearthstones
Alright,
or don't have the mastery, you can.
If you don't have gliding, you can just waypoint to whatever island you need to go to. Really, I don't know. I think they did a really good job with this map. The art style. The only thing is that there's a delay, so it doesn't really work. But there is a castle on top of this island. Okay, there's like this keep or castle way on top of this island. You can't get to it. It looks freaking awesome, and of course you can't get there. It's my only disappointment.
You also can't get to the llama pen if you don't have gliding.
True, but this castle you can't get to at all. There was a brief. Deo got a brief shot of it for a second there. It's way up in the sky.
Yeah,
When you
it,
get
it
super
does look
close
beautiful.
to it turns your glider off actually. But anyway,
You actually reminded me that there's one thing I have a problem with is that there's not enough space when you're fighting the golems because they're all like onto the edge. So, for example, if I wanted to fight them and I wanted to simulate dodging, I would be like almost always falling off or worried about falling off. So I just feel like there needs to be a bit of room. Also, there are 4 profession NPCs really close grouped together, and those are used to actually practice, fighting different builds and stuff. But you can accidentally hit some of the other ones when you don't really want to. So they need to space those out a bit more.
or they need to put in a system where you need to talk to the person, talk to the NPC, say let's fight, rather than accidentally hitting and aggroing them, because that is going to happen certainly on some classes.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I was trying to run through with the pans, and so I think one time I saw someone like throw down like an AoE, or like maybe the NPC did, and I was like, "Ah, crap! Like, don't put me in combat." So yeah, I can definitely understand that. So, but yeah, honestly, running around here, I was like, I kind of wish this would have like a guild hall, like, and like maybe you could have got to one of the, like that keep or something that you're talking about.
Oh
like,
man,
A Mists guild hall? Yeah, no, sign me up for that. I would change our guild hall in a heartbeat.
100%. Me too. I love the idea already. You know what? Can we just kick all the PvPers out and use this as a guild hall? They won't mind, right?
I'm sorry,
probably
PvP players. They're like the first thing we get.
I'll be back again, guys.
Oh boy.
Yep.
I love the face
this
though.
time is fantastic.
Absolutely, almost like absolute disgust. Like, ugh. Oh boy. So yeah, that's the PvP lobby. Let's talk now about the automated tournaments. So it's daily single elimination tournaments, 3 tournaments a day, shifting schedule to fairly represent all the time zones. Kind of like what Inks was saying earlier. Like, unfortunately,
There's 5 of it. It's happening.
boy, what a show. So, does anyone want to talk about automated tournaments while we rearrange everything?
While we wait for my ghost. Oh,
There we go.
There I go.
There we go. Wow.
Automated tournaments are fantastic, but I think they need to have more of them set up because they fill up really quick.
Yeah.
And
Not
they're
like-
not,
okay,
like Inks
so-
was saying, they're timed poorly for a lot of people.
There's a couple of problems. Number one, in some respects, I understand the timing thing, but I feel like if you had more, it feels like they should add more of them, right? Like Jim is saying that they fill up pretty quickly, at least right now. Over time, that's going to dwindle, obviously. But at least for now, maybe they should open up a bunch more time slots or something to see if they fill. Like, it only needs to get to X amount of players for it to kick off, right? So why not just add more slots right now? And I know there's bugs with them. They've had to shut them down a couple of times and kick people and stuff. I mean, I guess that's to be expected with a new feature like something like this. The other thing is the reward for first place for the amount of time that you have to invest in it just isn't worth it. 5 gold.
Yep.
I mean, it's just you're spending. I think people were saying they were spending about 2 hours per automated tournament to make.
Is
5
that for
gold.
the daily one?
No, this is for an automated tournament.
Yeah,
No,
daily.
the daily automated tournament.
Monthlies aren't available, so it's dailies.
Right. Yeah, this is for dailies and not monthly. Sorry, this is just for
I know the
dailies.
monthly's
So
like
first place comes in at 5 gold for 2 hours. You know, not that rewarding. And then on the monthly spectrum, and I know that, you know, from an outsider perspective, I look at the rewards for monthlies and I think they look incredible. But from a PvP pros perspective, and I was talking to Syndronir a lot about this, they're not very attractive to them because they used to get the PvP weeklies via ESL or whatever that was run by, and they were getting 2,000 gems a player every week for first place team, which adds up to way more than the monthly tournament win, which is 500 gold, 100 mystic coins, llamas that most of them probably don't care about, and a bunch of other stuff. And on top of that, they weren't overly happy about the armor
because they have it.
Well, not just because some of them have it, but because it doesn't look different enough. If you look at the armor that we can obtain by not playing in monthlies or not playing in tournaments, the difference is that their armor has this extra white, has a couple extra white highlighted spots versus the regular armor, which doesn't.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at even World versus World, the difference between Tier 2 and Tier 3 doesn't seem that significant until you add something like Sublime, and there's a glow and so forth, right? And the general consensus is that this felt rather lazy, that this was an armor that has been around since 2014, 15, something like that.
Something like that.
So it wasn't updated at all. They just took the armor and threw it in these boxes and says, here's a reward. And it just felt like unimaginative, and it's not a big reward goal for them, right? It's not a big reward goal for those players in general. For me, it would be because I don't have it. I want armor skins, whatever. But for the people who are actually playing these things and who actually have a chance at winning these things, you know, apparently not super incentivized.
Is it Ascended gear?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't have to use the marks, so there you go.
Yeah, but...
No, okay, so... Well, what I was going over the rewards. I saw the daily ones, and I'm like just skipping over them. I only see them for qualifying points. That's it. I don't really see the point of the mystic coins. The gold was really low. I do see that. The monthlies, I saw like it was totally worth getting at least 8th place and up. If you were like new to PvP or like, you know, just kind of want to get into competitive stuff. I was wondering what pros were going to think about this, because the only thing that I see that could be potentially worth in terms of prestige is the llamas, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'm not overly hyped about llamas. I mean, you know, they're cool, but I'm not overly hyped about minis in general. But
Right.
And the Glorious Hero boxes, they're, like Ing said, they're very similar to Ardent Glorious armor, so it's like there are only slight differences. So it's like I already have the skin, so it's.
Is it just the regular Glorious armor, or is it? I can't remember.
So okay, so Ardent Glorious armor is the ones you can get from the PvP League vendor.
Right.
Glorious Hero armor is the ones you could get exclusively from tournaments. So the ESL weeklies back then delivered on those, and the pro players probably already have those. So and honestly, the prestige of that has kind of deteriorated a little bit since we have Ardent Glorious armor. So I was fully expecting some sort of, because in the blog post they said they were going to give out prestigious prizes. So I'm like, the only thing I see is glorious hero armor, which a lot of the pros already have, so they're just going to get more of those, and the llamas, which again,
even if you take out of the equation, like I was saying, that the pros already have it, look, some of the pros definitely will, right? The difference between the Ardent and the Hero is that the Hero has highlighted white wingtips. The wings that are on the armor are like this highlighted white. It's very faint. It's barely noticeable by most people. If an Ardent person and a Hero person stood next to each other, there's a very slight difference. Yeah. But it's not enough of a difference for you to say, oh, yeah, this guy wins monthly tournaments. Look at him. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not that recognizable thing about it, really.
You need to give... I don't know about, like, the gold rewards and stuff like that, but at least in terms of prestige, you need to give something that you can only get from the monthly that, you know, is visually appealing, right? At least in my opinion, that's what I would say.
The other thing that's going to be really interesting to me, and we won't see this effect for 1 to 2 months, is what is this going to do to the general economy? Not just for first place, who gets 500, but second place gets 400, and then it sort of trickles down from there. There's a lot of gold that's going to be introduced into the game, even if it's for, what is it, 100 teams?
Yeah, so it's...
Like, it's a lot of gold getting introduced into the economy, and yet they were worried about what weapon sigils would do to the economy, but you're not worried about introducing thousands of gold a month into the economy, like liquid gold.
I have are there any weapon sigils that are really like super lucrative anymore?
Force is 8 gold, give or take. There's a couple weapon sigils that are 8 gold or 5 gold, or Torment or one of them might be up there. I have to check, but there's 3 or 4 there's maybe 3 or 4 at most that are worth a lot. And don't get me wrong, I was sort of in defense of ArenaNet because a lot of people have legendary weapons. I sort of understand where they're, not that I agree with them, but I sort of understand where they're coming from with that. But then you do stuff like this, and I understand automated tournaments have to be lucrative. And even if you gave them gems instead of gold, it's still gold, right? It doesn't matter.
Well, to be fair, the number of the comparison to the number of people who will be playing these tournaments versus the game overall, because you got to figure the people swapping out the sigils are going to be PvE and WW players. So that's a much larger chunk of the population than the people who are going to be playing the automated tournaments. So I think the amount of gold being exchanged for the sigils thing is a lot greater than we might be giving it credit compared to the PvP tournaments. I understand your argument, but
maybe. And Mortimer's not wrong. He's like, you're talking about like long-term versus short-term, and I do understand that. But so, for example, maybe I'm not a typical player, but I feel like anybody that I normally play with, or the circles that I run in, you buy sigils for a weapon, and then you just get another weapon. It falls from raids or fractals or rovers, whatever you play, another ascendant weapon drops. I'm not changing sigils. I'm never changing sigils. That force sigil that's in my legendary will never change. And I'll never use the legendary as intended because I can't. I'm not going to get rid of my force sigil. I just get another ascendant weapon. They're nothing. They drop like candy when you're at that high level. Not that I'm super high level, but when you're doing raids and stuff on a weekly basis, if you're doing caps, or even if you clear 1 raid wing a week, like, getting ascended weapons becomes nothing once you have your first set. Like, they just pile up on you.
No,
and I know from a veteran player's perspective that sounds bad for me to say. Like, it sounds disgusting, right? But they really do pile up after a while. Even when I had 9 characters, it wasn't a problem to gear all of them over a couple of months, let's say.
Now, is the 500 for the whole team or per character of the team?
500 per character.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, if you're just looking at... Because you said 500 for first place? What was it, 400? Or I went safe and said 300? Okay.
You get 100 mystic coins as well, so it's like 600 gold, I guess, technically.
Yeah, I just did 800 for... Because I did 500 and 300 that's lowballing according to like what you guys are saying. That if we just say average month is 30, that's 26 gold per person or per of just if it was 500 and 300 for those teams. But you're saying 500, 400, and then trickles down, so it's numbers even bigger. I mean,
well, and these and some of the pros, I don't want to say all of them because I honestly don't know a lot of pros that I talk to. I talked to a couple of them here and there very briefly. But when they were doing the ESL weeklies was 2,000 gems a person. That's even more than these monthlies. So some of them have a ton of gems, just a crap ton. And they used to win legendaries for some of those things, not weekly, but like for the big tournaments and stuff. So I think from their perspective, these rewards seem really tiny in comparison to what they used to get for playing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. From a low B perspective that is never going to obtain these things, that has no shot at it right now, 500 gold plus 100 mixed coins sounds amazing. I can't imagine winning that in one lump sum, right? That's a ton of gold and resources for me personally. For them, not so much, and it's not that big of an incentive.
Yeah. I mean, the monthlies overall gives 600 gold in total for like every player and for all the positions. The dailies every day would be was it 26 gold times 5 is like 125 gold every day if that happens, times 3
if you have that kind of time.
Yeah, if you have that kind of time. So it's a lot of gold coming in, but I don't know, maybe they did see like they would affect the economy that way. But if that's the case, you don't have to give out gold per se. You can give out more items that are cool to have, or something that you could eventually get different types of, put in the forge to create this one awesome thing. It will promote you to play in like the monthlies and dailies. Everything doesn't have to be gold rewards, for example.
Well, I don't want to misquote Sindranir. I kind of wish he was here to speak for himself, but the conversation I had with him was he even mentioned at one point getting clovers. Like he said, even getting clovers might be kind of nice in some of these chests that you get or something, because that's useful. That's like a useful currency, right? I mean, now he can take the gold and make clovers, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I don't know. It's from what I understood, some of them, and these are pro players who have experience, who have the capabilities of winning these things, they don't seem overly incentivized for the amount of time that they have to put in to qualify and then winning. And, you know, there is a big payday for the monthly, but qualifying for the monthly, not so much. I don't know.
Yeah. You could get clovers out of reward tracks, Mofongo, but
sure, we're just talking about the monthly reward thing. So
what are clovers used for other than legendaries?
Legendaries.
They have other uses?
I was wondering that because I don't know if clovers would be super useful to somebody who doesn't really care about legendaries.
Yeah, I think that's why they're giving away mystic coins instead of like clovers, just to.
So you can just sell them and get more gold.
Sell them, get more gold, or you can make clovers yourselves. I guess I don't know, but
I honestly think the reason they're going with straight gold instead of the gems, like possibly they used to, is probably because I'm actually surprised because the gem thing probably was nice for them. Like if they converted, that actually messes with that
lose
whole
gold.
Yeah, I mean it keeps the gem prices, you know, you know, makes that thing fluctuate, which.
And you know what? I'm sure like ArenaNet looks at all the analytics. I'm sure that they worked out the math and all these things. We're just, at least I'm not seeing the math behind it. Not that I'm really meant to as a player, but and I'm just going by what people are saying. You know, people are generally saying that automated tournament dailies are not worth, reward-wise, are not worth the effort. And the pros, at least, are saying that the monthly tournaments are under-rewarded, both in armor and in pure reward.
Yeah. So I want to bring up the interesting side of automated tournaments, because the whole point of automated tournaments was to have some competitive 5v5 field. And so the thing is now, and this is the kind of thing I was talking about with raids, and if they like added story mode and type of thing, so they would focus. It's like people wanted 5v5 to be competitive, and now that they have it, they're more focused on the rewards and the actual competitiveness. It feels like now I know some people like feel like they are happy with the competitive nature and getting rewards as a bonus, but maybe some people just want to play for the rewards type of deal. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this versus playing for rewards versus playing for competitive spirit. Where do those two mesh, or what type of balance should there be?
Well, I will jump in on this because I am a person who plays PvP. Originally, as a PvE almost exclusively player, I got into PvP for the easy dailies. When they changed the daily system, I saw that I could get 2 to 3 of my dailies completed in one match. And at that point in time, I almost exclusively played my ranger. I was doing this weird rampager amulet build with longbow, shortbow, and I was just being generally annoying. I don't know if I was effective, but people chased me around a lot, so I guess I was doing something right. I then started to enjoy PvP. So I got into it because of the rewards initially, and then found that I actually liked PvP. Now, I think that's kind of one of the things that they're trying to do with a lot of their game modes is they want to set up the incentive, the incentive to get into it. Like, look at this stuff you can get. Like, they've got the Fractal backpack, they've got the PvP backpack, they've got the Warbringer now, the WvW backpack for the legendaries. That's the incentive. That's to get people into it, and it's a long enough goal that they have to sit there and actually try to play, to try to get better at the game mode. That gives you enough time to say, I like this, I will continue to play this, so that not only do I get my reward, but I actually enjoy this game mode now. But I kind of agree with you in the fact that I kind of wish people would enjoy competing. Like, for example, luckily this season I only had 1 AFK in my placement matches. I don't comprehend people queuing up, losing the first team fight at mid, and then giving up. Like, why queue for ranked or PvP at all if you're just going to quit if a team fight goes wrong? Like, there's more to this game than team fighting. You can do more than that. You can win by side capping. You can win just by leading the enemy. Like, if the enemy team blobs, you can lead them around by the nose and just keep a 2-cap most of the time. I kind of get where you're saying people are focusing on the rewards, and I definitely agree that that's not a great thing. Like, focus on the game mode first and see the rewards as a benefit, as opposed to the be-all, end-all of what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not saying rewards are, just to clarify for chat, I'm not saying the rewards aren't important at all. I think they are important as, like for Malthanis, he got in because of the rewards and then he started to enjoy PvP. I think rewards are a great incentive to get people to play PvP. But I feel like at some point, if you're going to be a PvP player in this game, you kind of want to have some competitive spirit, some competitive nature. I have that sort of. I play to enjoy, to get good matches, to have some fun, but I'm not really in there for the rewards, actually. Think about it. It's like, if I get stuff, great. If not, it's like, it's fine. But I'm actually
the good news is, even when you lose, you get pips. So
exactly. So
it doesn't matter.
There you
go. I have to say that from somebody, there was a big discussion. I don't even know if I should say that. Screw it. There was a big discussion among some of the partners about playing for the love of the game and stuff. And, my thing is, playing for the love of a game only takes you so far. You play the game, you get introduced to the game, you keep playing the game because you love the game. You love that game mode, or you love the competitive spirit. A real life experience that is similar is I played American football for probably 16 years. So when I was a kid, throughout high school, I always played for the love of it. I played because I loved the sport. I loved the game. I liked my teammates and so on. And I liked winning. I mean, who doesn't like to win? But when you get to college, and when I played in college ball, the game changes because you're not just playing because you love it anymore. You're playing because, and very few people can say that they're going to make a career out of it, or, and I'm not even talking professionally, but semi-pro or whatever the case is. But you enter a sort of a different mode, right? You get into a different mindset when you hit a certain level or a certain plateau. It becomes less about playing for the love and more about what rewards are you going to get out for all of the work that you put into it. Yes, you still love the game. Yes, you still play because you love it, but you're also playing for rewards. And I feel like online competitive games are very much about the rewards. The thing that keeps people playing for long periods of time is going to be the rewards. It's going to be the carrot, the new skin, the gold gun, whatever the case is. Those things that make you look special and better than other people is what you're playing for. And not just because you love the game. You keep playing because you love the game, but it's more than that.
Okay.
So I feel like rewards are a very important part of the competitive side of the game. Really any game, but competitive definitely.
Yeah. I feel, yeah. Okay, so
I do have a question. Do you consider love of the game as part of the reward?
I would say early on I do. I think the deeper in that you get, it becomes more than just that, though. I don't think that keeps you going. I think that...
you think it's always a part of it?
Yeah, I do. I think that there's always a part of it. If you stop loving the game, that you're playing, whatever it is, be it football, online games, soccer, whatever, when you stop enjoying it, you stop playing, or you find something else to whet your competitive tongue, so to speak. I went from college football to semi-professional paintball for a short period of time. Like, I always moved to a different, until my kidneys failed, I was always active in one sport or another because I just had that competitive drive. And you start playing those things and you're having fun just because you're playing the game because you love the experience. But you get to a certain skill level, I feel like, and the love of it is no longer enough. You need more than just having fun. You need to feel rewarded. You need to feel like you're winning because you're better than other people. You need to feel like you get something special, a trophy, money, whatever the case is, to feel like that you're investing your time into it is more than just a hobby, so to speak, I guess.
So essentially a goal, an end goal of some sort.
I was going to say,
end goal.
You probably don't even have to say competitive. I mean, look at how, like PvE, for example, I've probably played less and less Guild Wars 2 ever since like raids and stuff, because raids brought that mentality of, you know, here's a strategy, do the dance, like just, you know, do whatever the dance is, and that's how a lot of people play. I remember one of the good parts about Living Stories season 1, when you're, instead of fixing signs, so finally they brought out that dungeon, the molten facility or whatever it was, and at the end, like, no one knew what was happening.
Get back.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't get that. I'd be very happy if I had that, but I remember, like, no one knew what was happening, and everybody was like, I think like 3, maybe there was only 2 of us left, like, during that, while both of those end bosses were up, and everyone was like, oh no, and like such a white knuckle moment of like, I can't die, we can't die, and you know, luckily we got to the cutscene and everybody rezzed at that point, but it was like, at the end, like, so much sweat on like my mouse and everything. I was like, oh, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we have to run out of here. Like, I'm like, oh crap, like, you know, how to get to the elevator thing. But I don't know, raids have never been that for me, where the group comes together to figure out the problem. It's, I mean, nowadays, go to the website or watch this guide and, you know, do the tango.
Sure. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's definitely, I mean, Age can definitely speak to this because we rated, even Jim, we rated together. The first time you kill a boss as a group, as your group, even if you looked at a guide, even if you looked at a whatever, there is that sense of accomplishment that just can't be. And I think that for raid players, generally speaking, there's people like Teapot and some of the hardcore guys who just do it because maybe they're insane, but
Maybe.
where they just run it 50 million times a day, or people like Yummy who are overly dedicated, but they're doing it for money. At least Yummy is. But that first time that you beat that raid boss, that feeling is hard to replicate, and you end up chasing that high. Do you know what I mean?
I think on a personal level, because when we had our raid group, we got through the Veil Guardian, and then schedules and everybody kind of fell apart. But after that moment, I definitely had that sense of like, hey, we did it, yay, but I did not have that moment of pure stress this whole time, because like I said, the thing is just, can we all do DDR together?
I don't know. I've definitely experienced that stress towards the end of every first boss kill, where it's like, is this going to be the time, or is this going to? And then you wipe at 1%, and you feel so defeated. It's ridiculous.
I think Krista was on one of her raid nights. They were on a boss that died to Condi.
Yeah.
Everybody, that the entire raid was either dead or downed, and I think their last person up was their Condi Necro, and it was just like click, click, 1%, click, thud, right as the Necro went down. And those are all great. Those are great stories to share, but I do agree that it is kind of hard to get that again once you've done it the first time.
Yeah, you never experience it again.
That's why they add more wings.
Yeah, you need more bosses and more challenges, and
honestly,
and in some ways, this might not be for everybody, but for me, the more difficult something is, or maybe the less number of people who have completed it, or the sooner that you complete it, the bigger the high is, because people haven't been there yet, right? There's that sense of you've done it. Maybe not first, but you're one of the first handful to really come to grips with
I'm sure those people that have that do the races, they probably get that because, of course, they're figuring it out, and also, they're competing in a way, just not, directly towards each other. And honestly, I understand that, and my point was, it's like, people were like, we wanted challenging content. They kind of gave it to us. And they're like, well, what do we get out of it? Like. It instantly goes to that. It's like, well, you didn't want it for the love of the challenging content, kind of like what you're saying, Inks. It's like after that certain level,
you do for the first time. But but MMOs, the games in general, need you to play more than once. To get MMOs take a long time to develop. Content takes a long time to develop, right? You need to play it more than once to get value out of it. ArenaNet wants you to play it more than once so that you keep coming back for more. And the only way to really incentivize people is either have player interest, like people like Yummy who sell the raids and make bank off of it. That's what motivates them. Or have rewards in the raids, skins or cool effects, infusions, etc., that players are going to want because they look special, legendary armor. To entice them to keep doing it again and again and again.
I mean, if my thing was that, like, if you're on our Discord, like you probably see me posting about like all these other games. It's like, oh, I want to try this. I want to pop into this. I'm going to return to this. Like this past week, like because of the World v World changes, my brother started playing again. He was like, oh, he's like, I hopped into World v World. He's like, oh, I want to work on this build, and he was going for like a Condi Necro. So now he's going after a certain armor, and so I was like, well, you haven't really been around for a while. Best bet if you want to get like the Ascended Rings, I was like raid or farm the new maps. So we were kind of like running around just playing the maps, and I'm like, I actually enjoyed this. Like
yeah,
like so. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I refound my love for the game and not like, well, what are we getting? What is this? What's the end result? So I don't know.
The first time you play something, the first time you experience something, that's the reward. The experience is the reward. But after you do it one time, maybe twice, depending on the person, you want more than just that. The experience is not enough anymore, right? Because you can't replicate that high. The same is true, and this is getting really tangent now, but the same is true for any MMO, right? Any MMO, and Dale, you play a lot of them. Any MMO you hop into for the first time.
Oh yeah.
The first time you played Guild Wars 2, try and remember what that was like. The first beta, the first experience. You can't replicate that. You can't. It doesn't matter if you make 30 characters or 70 characters. It doesn't feel the same after the first, right? Maybe for some people, every character class is that special feeling. But every time you hop into a new MMO with a new world to explore, it's a special, unique feeling. Right, and that's what people chase. That's why people hop MMOs and games so much. They get bored of whatever they've been doing, and they want that first high over again, and they hop games to get it.
I remember that. I know exactly what you're talking about, because I remember when me and my wife were playing World of Warcraft, and we got to level 58, and we could go through the Dark Portal.
Right.
So I remember that, yeah. But you're right.
Sure
We are
all the
kind of
PvP
tangenting.
players that are watching are really happy that I turned it into a PvE topic.
It's fine, actually. It talks about achievements. It's talking about getting a feeling of accomplishments, and the very first time you're exploring new content or things like that. I think in any mode of an MMO, that's that type of feeling that you guys are talking about experiencing, and it's hard to get that back sometimes, unless like companies bring in new experiences for people to discover, things like that. So,
and I think the way that you reward people, playing for the love, experience, whatever, which we've talked extensively about now, is the way that you reward people is either by A, giving them things to add to their collection, because people are collectaholics, even myself. You give them special snowflakes so that they feel special, at least for a short period of time, or you give them raw gold.
I have too many snowflakes. I think I have them capped in my storage.
Yeah, they're not that special.
Because some people just want to have as much gold as possible, even if they don't want to spend it. It's not even about spending it. It's about having a mountain of gold to sit on like a dragon, you know.
Fox, holy cow, it's ridiculous. You can buy like, I'm not gonna get into it, sorry.
Are you saying he could possibly buy an army that he could use in World
He
versus
probably
World?
could. He probably could.
Transitions.
So with the patch notes, there was also a little bit of a World v World update. Simple nameplates now have triangles instead of circles. Also, the loyalty pip is now the commitment pip. There we go, pip. Wow. To obtain it, simply complete wood tier the previous week. And also the new 1-up, 1-down matchmaking system. So starting Friday, which if you're watching live, was yesterday, Sunday, 2 days ago. After a matchup, third place will move down a tier, and first place will move up a tier. If there's a tie for last, no world would move down, which means the tier below stays the same, since no room to move up. Similar for first place tie situations. So,
which is very rare.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing out of this, I mean, it's nice to hear about the matchmaking thing, but the loyalty pip and the commitment pip system, like wording change and the little bit of tweaking.
Commitment pip. I feel like we talked about this a lot last week, I think, about the different pips outnumbered. So they're still looking into outnumbered. They haven't really made any decisions. They did say that they have some ideas in mind, but then didn't share any of those ideas, which is like, so I appreciate the communication on that, but I wish you would have shared a couple of the ideas. If you have something in mind that may or may not work, like, share it with the community and they will tell you whether they like those ideas or not. You might not get the best feedback all the time, but you'll get a sense of how people feel about whatever direction you're considering. The commitment pip, I feel like, should scale. I don't mind the change that they made to it where it's for 1 week, but I feel like it should scale to 3 or 4 or something like that if you continue to carry it on. Having that pip this last week was really great for me.
So maybe for every tier you get an extra pip or something?
Right. So right now you have to hit, what is it, wood
Yeah.
for a week, and then
Yeah.
you get the commitment pip. Well, what if you hit wood for? It used to be 3 weeks, and then you would get it. So they changed it to 1 week because people go on vacation and whatever, real life. You know, I fully understand that. I can appreciate that. But what if I get wood for 2 weeks, and 3 weeks, and 4 weeks? If I'm loyal for a month, should I not get 3 pips or 4 pips maybe? Because long-term commitment, such a weird conversation. Long-term commitment is not really rewarded. You're only rewarding short-term commitment, right? So
He did say it was weird.
This is getting deep.
So I mean, I don't know. I feel like long-term commitment should be a little bit more rewarded, especially when, and I know outnumbered might change in the future, but let's pretend it's not going to change. I feel like loyalty is more important. Oh, no, that's wrong. Loyalty is not more important. I feel like loyalty is very important to a server. And I feel like commitment, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like that should be a little bit more rewarded the longer that you're committed.
Relationship talk with Puff and Skritt.
I do think you're right on that, and I do agree with the, every time you get it, it should scale up. So as you consistently get the commitment reward, you should get more pip value out of it. I don't think that if you miss a week, it should instantaneously drop to 0. I do think it should -1.
Right.
I like that.
Here's what I would. That's a pretty good idea. Here's what I would propose. Some people are saying up to +4, whatever number you want to come up to. +4 sounds good to me. 4 weeks, a month worth of commitment seems like a good amount. If you miss a week, maybe it only goes down by 1 pip. So instead of 4, now you get 3, 2, 1, 0, whatever the case is. If you transfer servers, it automatically goes to 0. Because the whole idea is for you to not transfer servers. They don't want you server hopping and moving around. If you transfer servers, you get locked out for a week or whatever it is, it's down to 0. If you just miss a week but don't transfer servers, then maybe it should only degrade by a week's worth of pips or whatever it is.
Yeah, I feel that's fair. I like that idea.
Sorry, I'm trying to construct a server hopping joke and Tinder in my head, but I just...
Oh my god.
I like this topic about all this. Anyway, can we put a YouTube tag of like relationship advice or something in there somewhere? Because I think you could just like... But...
What was the other thing? Oh, about the 1 up, 1 down. A lot of mixed feelings about 1 up, 1 down. Now, Mofongo Jones is saying that there's already problems with it. I haven't really paid attention since reset yesterday, unfortunately. I played way too long on Friday just to get to Mithril again. So I don't know how well it went for our server. It seems like a decent system, and I know they're keeping Glicko in the background, but the concern, at least from the very few people I talked to on JQ, was that some of the higher tier servers would be able to manipulate the system into their favor by either tanking or match manipulating the 1 up, 1 down. I don't know how that differs from manipulating Glicko, but that was a concern anyway.
Yeah. It was very interesting that they added this, because I thought the whole point of resetting every 2 months, like the new server matchups, would be the thing that they're looking into. But it looks like they're trying to getting back into like some of the old features of like, I think 1 up, 1 down was a type of thing that you did. If you lost a certain amount of matches, you would fall down. But I kind of like the rematchup system that they had now, because reducing exploitation from servers is kind of a thing that you kind of want to do, and I do see a few servers might have the potential to do it. So yeah, I don't know. I do have mixed feelings as well, so I'll wait it out. I'll look at comments people make about it and stuff like that.
It definitely looks like they're trying their best to figure out the best possible thing. So the biggest thing is, voice your concerns on the forums. They'll check Reddit, here and there, but probably the best place is probably on the forums.
They did say too that Glico is still sort of running in the background, and if the system doesn't work, then they'll just turn it off and go back to Glico.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Yeah, so voice your concerns to Arena themselves. Also, we've been talking about in the last couple weeks, material storage and more stuff going into it. Lindsay Murdoch shared some more info, potentially could be adding more things to the list of like carbonized mithril ingots, square of Vabian silk, blended leather sheet, empowered mithril ingot, empowered cured thick leather square, bolt of empowered silk, composite wood board, weaponized elder wood plank, weaponized cured thick leather square, weaponized mithril ingot. So
those are all the things they added for the stupid
tokens.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we didn't even mention. The ridiculousness of it just keeps making me laugh.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say. Okay, go ahead.
They, for the rewards for this PvP season, they added the tokens as a reward. So
you can't get a chest piece, but you can get any other piece of gear. You can get one of anything but a chest piece a season.
So you add in this system to make PvPers craft. PvPers tell you, we don't like to craft. No problem. We'll give you the reward of the crafted tokens. Then why did you add the system? It doesn't make any sense.
See, I kind of like it because it allows PvP players who don't want to craft, allows them to just play PvP, but if they want to craft, or if PvE or World War players want to craft, they can get them, same rewards without, going through the hassle. But I do think repeatable Byzantium, if it doesn't, should give at least one mark.
Well, and this is repeatable rewards.
Yeah, this is another thing too. Those rewards are not repeatable. They have a really big problem with repeatable rewards in this game for the chess, both in PvP and World vs. World. Those repeatable rewards are terrible. I don't know what to say about that.
I'll say one
going
big
back
thing,
to Lindsay's thing, which has nothing to do with that. She did talk. What I thought was really interesting, she did talk in that they have, and this is kind of concerning, but there's only so much room apparently, or there's a budgeted amount of room for the UI for these items, and her original budget was 100 for this update to what's available right now. And she was already over that with 125, and now she's got all these other things to add. And she says, well, that's okay because they had a budget for Living Story Season 3.
Okay.
And that's going to be under budget. And whatever the budget for the expansion is, apparently that is under budget. So because those two are probably, it's not a for sure thing, it's a probably. But because both of those are probably under budget, it's okay that this one is over budget.
I don't think she should have mentioned that.
Well, maybe they're going with the more mentality of universal currencies instead of Heart of Thorns was every map had a currency. Granted, the new maps had like a separate currency, but they also had the Unbound Magic, which was, across the board currency. So maybe they're rolling into the next expansion is going to just be, look, all the zones are just going to have one currency. Maybe it's Silky Sand. We don't know. Or maybe it's,
Which is actually better because Guild Wars 2 has a lot of different currencies.
Yeah.
Way too many, in my opinion. So I don't know that, like, see, in some ways I understand. It's tough. In some ways I understand. When you release a new map for every episode, you don't want people to stockpile blood rubies, which was the very first currency, so that they can buy whatever the brand new reward is without playing the new content. So you create a new currency so that they play that. Just like when raids come out in the next expansion, my guess would be that the currency is going to be different, which will go into your wallet and not your UI. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want you to stockpile all that currency, even though raid rewards are gated behind killing a boss. maybe it'll be slightly different for raids, but they basically don't want you to stockpile a currency and just buy it all outright without having to play through the content and sort of bide your time on it. Why they make new content, which makes sense from a design standpoint, but it also means too many currencies.
Yeah, at least with raid, you have to beat the boss to get like the specific weapons from said boss. So
the other thing that I look at is that I honestly think Unbound Magic income versus spending is in a really good place, because spending, I mean, I think the lowest amount you can spend is 1,000 Unbound Magic to do anything. Granted, basically anything you do in the new zones gets you Unbound Magic, but you're still spending a lot of it. I've spent most of my time almost exclusively in either PvP or the new maps getting Unbound Magic, and I could very easily just spend all of my Unbound Magic on 2 or 3 things.
Right, yeah.
So I think that their current price gating is good, and the fact that all of the stuff that they've been introducing as map currency items are used in crafting recipes from the new map, can be salvaged into Unbound Magic, and can be traded to the Unbound Magic plus them plus gold gets you stuff from the vendor. I think that the Heart of Thorns Living Story stuff is in a good place with currency. Like, I think that's the right way to do it. I kind of understand where they're going with it, because they want you to spend time in a map to get rewards from that map. It's kind of like what you were saying, is you don't want people to just bank a single currency and then buy all of the stuff and then have nothing to do in the new map.
Yeah, like you're banking Unbound Magic as it is.
Right.
So
none of us went into Draconis Mons, looked at the vendor, and bought everything, because you needed orchids for a lot of the stuff. So I think that's a good, and not only the fact that it's that, and if you've been buying a lot of the stuff for Unbound Magic, it's just thousands of Unbound Magic a pop for all of the things. And if you've been regularly buying stuff, you don't have it whenever the new map drops anyway. So.
And I did see chat talking about this, but yeah, unfortunately, another thing that came out of here was a keyring is not coming soon.
People are so weird when she's talked about this a lot of times, about that she has an idea. She has an idea for what she wants to do with keys, or what they can do with keys. Again, this is another side personal project. This is not a main feature or something that's coming to the game. And whatever she wants to do, she has said multiple times that she can't do it alone. So she needs to find other people who have the proper skill sets to help her, who are interested in spending their free time to work on whatever this project is. And right now, it's just an idea. She gave this 20-step whatever developer process on how things are done, or at least how she does things for the side project. And she's on step 1. I have an idea. Like, it's that's all it is. And people are like, so when is the keyring coming out? You promised us. It's like, no, wait, stop. It wasn't a promise, and it's not coming tomorrow. Like, where are you guys getting this from?
Yeah.
And I say that because this is not the first time. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I've seen either posts on forums or Reddit where, like, where's the promised keyring? It's like, no. Mo specifically told you, no, you're not getting a keyring.
Well, Inks, you remember when Mo said that they were suspending legendaries indefinitely? That means they were never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean...
yeah, and they do say it's in indefinite limbo, so yeah, really don't expect it anytime soon, possibly
Nothing
at all.
Is off
but
the table.
Yeah, they would like to do it, but it's just, do they have the people to do it? So
she has an idea. I can't wait to hear what the idea is, because it is sort of a bit of a headache. But, you know, it's not coming out anytime soon. We don't even have... She's still working on the material storage thing. That's not even out yet. People are already asking about, where's my keyring?
Yeah.
So, you know, the expansion is going to launch, and you still won't have your keyring. So just be patient.
I'll admit, if they continue doing the map-specific chests with keys, I really do think they need to introduce a key ring.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, I want something. They need something, right? There's a lot of keys in the game, you know, that would necessitate a key ring. So we need something, and she has an idea, but it's going to be a while. It's not a main feature that a team is working on. It's just one person with an idea who needs to find other people to convince them that you have a good idea and to work on it.
And well, let's move on. But before we hit the Gemstore, real quick, the GW2 Mac 64-bit test client was released, and if you're watching on YouTube, we'll have the blog post and stuff. But they are looking for people's feedback. I don't know if you guys have Macs or have tried it or anything like that, but I know personally I haven't, so I would not be good to, be able to talk about the Mac client itself. But if you are out there and you are using Mac and they have the Mac client out, definitely let your voice be heard. Or if you're using Ubuntu, which kudos to you. But I don't know. Do either of you have a Mac or?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't even know the first thing of.
I would say if you do have a Mac, definitely let us know if you've used it. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, I don't think any of us here use a Mac as of right now.
I will say,
I like having money.
I wish I had money. I will say that I think it's interesting that this is, as soon as I seen this come up, somebody in map chat or something instantly said, hey, look, guys, I finally added a Mac client. It would be really great if you made it so that the game ran off DX11 and add that, or DX11 and whatever instead. Why don't you add that instead of the Mac client?
Did someone pop up and go, it's coming with the key ring. It's bundled together.
I forget exactly how it was phrased, but the way that this person phrased it was actually pretty funny.
But
anyway.
Yeah, so we'd love to hear your thoughts if you are using it. But let us move to the Gemstore, and always thank you to Delphi.net. Check out Delphi.net so you can spend your gems more wisely. So first up, we have the Godslayer bow pack for 700 gems, and they may look similar, but they are two separate bows. One's a long bow and one is a short bow. There are particle effects when drawn, and like we said, since they're in the Gemstore, they're skins, not weapons, but they are a long bow and short bow version in a bundle, so you cannot purchase them separately.
The yellow glowy one is the short bow. The blue glowy one is the long bow.
Yes.
Okay. It's really hard to tell in the Gemstore which is which.
Yeah. So your guys' thoughts on the?
I see Inks. He really wants to get into it. So.
Thanks. Remember to breathe.
The company needs to make money, and I hope they make money off this.
Wow, that was very restrained.
It's as nice as I can be.
Okay, I will say I do like I think the bows are pretty cool. I think they could have sold them separately as well as in a bundle. That would have been nice. But yeah, I won't get them because I already have Storbow and I have Chuka. So
yeah, I was gonna say I haven't really used longbow or shortbow that much. I probably wouldn't be for me, but I mean, I've seen some people say like, oh, these two skins for 700 gems. Well, I mean, if you look at like the Bram Mace or the Bram Shield, weren't they like 400?
600.
600? So, I mean, if they would have bundled those together, so you're getting.
Now you're making me question: were they 600 or 400?
I wasn't. Yeah,
I think most weapons are 600. Like Stormbow is 600, right?
Yeah. So if those would have been grouped together, you would have been looking at 1,200 gems.
Oh, huge savings.
Yeah. So if you like both of them, you're getting a good deal from the standard Gemstore prices. Yeah. I think we've always talked about this. Yeah, I would love to see it like be able to, maybe you only like the one bow or this, the other bow, but maybe down the road.
This goes back to like buying options, right? I don't understand why they do this sometimes, where they don't give you the option of buying a single one. I mean, you're going to pay a lot more for a single one, right? They're going to make you pay way more for a single one. You're not going to get like 2 for 700 is actually a good discount for these weapons. especially with the effects. They have a lightning effect and all kinds of stuff going over it. They're good-looking skins, better than most of the skins in the game. But you know, I don't see why you don't sell them a la carte. You'll charge way more. And if people really only want to buy one, then you're gonna it won't make financial sense for you, but you should give people that option is kind of my point.
Mm-hmm. I thought way back, I thought I heard this at some point, that since it is like browser based, their Gemstore, I thought it was like limited to how many items that could be in there, which could be
maybe
why
Or they rotate things in there.
Yeah, and I mean we'll talk about it here in a bit. Of some things are getting removed, and so they have to cycle things in and out like that. But honestly, in the end, I don't know 100%. I just heard that before, like early on. But yeah, so I mean, any like final thoughts on the Godslayer bow pack?
Looks
good value,
cool.
looks good, looks better than even some of the legendaries, looks better than most weapons.
Awesome.
Remember, be polite.
Gemstore today.
Oh, I think
go.
he's saving it for this next one. We have the lovely Jormac die kit. As usual, 1 for 125, 5 for 500 gems, 25 for 2,500 gems. Remember, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get those dies in there. It's a pool of what, 20 so dies, and then those ones.
25.
25. But yeah, you have the Core Ice, Frostbite Blue, Frozen Scales, Frostbite Green, Eternal Ice, and Permafrost, and Celestial. So,
Well, Celestial's there for comparison.
oh, sorry,
Yes. Yeah.
my bad.
Permafrost is whiter than Celestial.
Well, it's pure white. It's hashtag all Fs, whatever the code, whatever that color code is. It's literally pure white. I mean, what am I gonna say? Look, RNG die kits are freaking terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we can really say
that.
that much more than we've said in the other times.
I've been saying it for a long time. My downfall is I collect dies. So every time these come out, I do not buy them from the Gemstore. I wish I could tell people. I wish I could myself buy from the Gemstore and feel like I'm getting value. I promise you, most of the time, like Black Lion chests, you are not going to see value. You won't get a special Truitt, I can't pronounce his name. There's a guy who does giveaway videos on YouTube all the time, and he opened 10 of them. He got one special die, I forget, and it wasn't even permafrost, it was whatever. But he got one special die in 10 of them. What does 10 of them cost? Way too much, whatever it is. So 1 in 10. So the 9 other dies he got were all garbage. They were worth nothing. And you spent a lot of gems on that.
125 gems.
Per one.
Per one. If he said he bought 10. Yeah. So he spent 1,000 gems because you can get 1 for 125, 5 for 500, or 25 for 2,500.
Yeah, not Tekkit. It's something starts with a T. I can't pronounce the guy's name. Anyway, he opened 10 of them. He did a video where he opens 10. He gets one special die, 1,000 gems for like a scaly green or frozen green or whatever the heck it's called, which is worth like 50 or 60 gold maybe. The RNG is no good. Don't buy them. I have all the dies except for permafrost because it's far too expensive, unfortunately for me. So now I have all the dies -1, and it took, I'm not good at making gold in the game. I'm terrible with efficiency, so I end up selling all my materials to get these things. And
you need to get into those monthly tournaments.
Yeah. Then winning a monthly tournament, I can buy a permafrost. But they're all. ArenaNet needs to make money. This is a good way for them to make money if the chances were better. If you actually got a special die, I would spend gems on these things. They would have less value on the trading post, but is that as important as making money off of gems? Or people convert gold to gems? There's a whole discussion there, I guess. It's way too deep for this, but I don't know. I'm not complaining so much. It sounds like I'm complaining. I'm really not. There's new dies. Permafrost is way overpriced. I will pray that they add it to a birthday at some point and I get it from there because I'm not going to spend 500, 600 gold on a die. I love dies. I love the variety. I love the selection and choices. I'm even using, I think, 2 of the dies on my legendary armor right now. But they're very bright. And you have to love like whitish color dies. They don't apply on armor so great depending on your preference. But yeah.
I mean, any
So
other thoughts
yeah, I know
on
the
die
new
kits?
birthday is coming. So the question will be, will this particular die kit be in the 5th anniversary, or is it going to be in the 6th anniversary because of how close it is to 5th? I don't know. Hopefully it'll be in 5th, and I'll pick my permafrost die, and then I'll have saved myself lots and lots of gold.
Yeah, because a lot of people have been speculating on that and a lot of people are like, well, no, it won't. But a lot of people did raise a good point that the previous year, the more recent ones did show up in that anniversary die package as well. So there's a precedent for it in the past. Is it gonna continue? You know, only time can tell. But any other thoughts on the die kit? I mean, like I said, I think every time we've kind of said the same thing over and over.
Screw them, don't buy them, let the whales buy them and buy the dies off the Gemstore.
Yeah, that's one
Save
way to
your
say
gold,
it.
buy off the Gemstore. I mean,
Like,
buy off the trading post.
The term whale is kind of disparaging in the freemium game market, but these are well and truly whale marketed items. I hate everything that is classified as such, because I understand that the company needs to make money, but this is a terrible way to do it, and I'm going to stop my tirade because I'll just keep going.
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret that a good deal of us here are not a big fan of the RNG effect on these things. You dilute the pool to 25. Interestingly enough, there was an article about what it means to be a whale, or what companies consider to be a whale, and for each game it's kind of different. No idea what, I'm sure ArenaNet wouldn't use that term necessarily, but no idea what in Guild Wars 2 you would need to do to be a whale, but it usually means spending more than $100 a month on a game or so to be a whale on the Gemstore. Some games it's 50, it depends on the game. But some games it's $1,000. It really just depends on what game it is. It's people who spend a lot of money on the game every single month to buy whatever. It doesn't matter what they're buying. It's just that they're spending $100 or more on the game, and that amount will vary from 1,000 to 100 to 50 to whatever. Mm-hmm. So anyway, RNG dies, not a big fan. Love the die colors. Check the trading posts. Most of them, except for permafrost, because it's pure white. It's the new, people like to call it the best in slot or whatever, but it's the new purest, whitest die. It's like 550 plus gold. So
best in slot.
If it doesn't come on a birthday, maybe over time I'll save up for it, but it's really not. I just 550 gold on a die. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot.
Best in slot. Dies get stats confirmed. I'm kidding. They're not. Don't. But yeah, some returning items. Sports sunglasses for 150 gems, and also the tormented weapons are back for a limited time from the Black Line Weapon Specialist for 5 Black Line claim tickets each. So,
which I think is too high. But anyway.
Yeah, I was say the tormented ones, aren't those like the kind of? Yeah, they're like the.
They're cool looking.
Yeah, like cool Abaddon-ish themed ones, I think.
They're obsidian looking with like a purplish glow. They're kind of twisted-ish. Yeah, cool looking. I just don't think that we brought it back for 5 tickets, guys. Value? No, it's no value there. Yeah, 5 tickets. I mean, whatever.
I mean, if you have them and you want gold, there you go.
I think 5 tickets is too much. 3 tickets, 2 to 3 tickets, I think is a more appealing thing for players. That maybe, like, I can't imagine that you put a release out there that says, hey guys, torment weapons are back, 5 tickets each. Oh my god, I better buy some Black Lion keys. I gotta get my 5 tickets to get me a tormented weapon. Nobody is doing that. One person, one whale in the entire sea of Guild Wars 2 is going for those 5, unless, like, I do know that there's some Black Lion skin people out there who have tons and tons of tickets because they complete collections. but this is not driving sales of Black Lion keys. I can't imagine, right? Because you need 5 tickets.
Yeah.
It's not like tickets rain from the sky from Black Lion keys. So the purpose is like, okay, these are back. Spend your tickets, or better yet, buy keys to get more tickets because you got 3 tickets. You're close. You better buy some keys. And I just don't see the draw there because of how expensive they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Also,
but,
last up, some more stuff that is leaving in the next couple days. Arena put out a tweet just maybe a little bit before earlier today. It says these items are leaving the Gemstore next week at 9 a.m. PDT. So Monday, June 26th, Bram's Heavy Armor, Magitex Medium Armor, and Phoenix Light Armor. And on Tuesday, the Loggertron, the Minertron, the Reapertron, the Replica Jabotron Backpack, Vine Touched Destroyer Glider combo are leaving on Tuesday. And they also said that Winter's Day returns to the Black Lion Trading Company on June 27th. Find a new Winter's Day item in the Gemstore every day. So I just want to throw this out there. Does that mean a new Winter's Day item or a new returning item? I think that's probably...
I imagine returning.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I would think so, because it'd be weird if they unveiled Winter's Day items for the Winter's Day in July type.
I mean, maybe they'll surprise us, but you have to think they're returning mostly, right? Most of them will be returning.
I would think
maybe
so,
they'll be. This is the whole Christmas in July thing, right? I guess this whatever. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's weird.
But that is it for this
When's that
week.
happening? June 22nd? No.
June
That's passed already.
June 26th it's leaving. The 27th is when it's starting, so next Tuesday.
27th, so next Tuesday. Okay. Wow, they're getting a jump on July a little bit.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, maybe they'll make some extra sales off this. The game needs to make money, right? They need gem sales, so maybe this will drive some of those things. Sort of hesitant to say this, but prepare for a new Black Lion chest would be my guess.
Yeah.
If it gives me alcohol, it might help with winter's presents that I still need to get.
That's always a good thing.
I just hope it's better. I hope they learned their lesson from last year, because last year it was a Winter's Day gift, and people were like, I would much rather have some crappy booster than this Winter's Day gift that's worth 6 silver. So hopefully they learn their lesson from that, and it's not a crappy seasonal gift this time around. So we'll see. I guess that begs the question too: what's going to be the Black Lion chest exclusive if there is a new Black Lion chest? Because you know that'll be a thing.
Giant Winter's Day gift.
Only time can tell. So we'll hopefully find out next.
We'll find out Tuesday. Maybe.
Yeah. So that is it for this week. Jim, where can they find you?
I can be found on Twitter at MouthAnisMMO. You can also find me here on twitch.tv/TalkingSkrit on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Zero to Hero PvP night, where I am strangely hitting a winning streak. I won my 11 past games, and I'm gold 2 now. So I don't know if it's just a drop in PvP population or if I might actually be getting better at the game. So
nice. And Age, where can they find you?
Twitch and YouTube, Addy's Night Road. I bought a bunch of Steam games, so I might play one of them on stream this week. Otherwise, it's the usual Guild Wars 2, Overwatch, fun times. So yeah. Or when there's no toxicity, I guess. So yeah.
Never.
Awesome. And Inks, where can they find you?
Well, as my cat just said, I don't know if you guys can hear him. He's throwing a fit.
Is that the one from the mist
Twitch, Twitter, and
that's
YouTube
not new?
at MMOing. I'm having some computer issues, so video production and stuff is kind of slowed until I can sort that out. Video card, I think, is dying, but working on it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hopefully that works out. And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. And if you're just popping at the very end, we do an after show, so do stick around. If you are watching this, or if you want to watch the show in full, this does go up on YouTube every Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If you're watching on YouTube, if you can make it out for the live show, like we said, we kind of do a pre-show, after-show type thing, just hang out and talk with everybody. We go live Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And thank you this week for the host, Serene Virus, Sundorai, and probably gonna butcher the name, but I did see you in chat. I'm gonna have to press you for how to say it. Jaibu. I hope I'm saying it right. And also that Chevron. And as always, we'll see everybody next week, and we will see you in the game. Good night, everybody.